should have shave.
Should I need a haircut. Does my hair look like?
Oh god, should I brought my comb? I was honestly going to bring my comb and I thought, no, it's a bit too much, isn't it?
You're shining, you need some foundation on.
We're just not even a Hello a chroeso I podlediad fideo cyntaf Politics Cymru. Hello and welcome to the first ever Politics Cymru video podcast here at the Mochyn D. Of course, you might have missed us coming out of the closet as it were a couple of weeks ago on S4C. So just in case you did, I'm Stefan Powell and since September I've been Dewis.
And I'm Dewis Dai, but by day I'm Cameron Davis and I'm from Aberystwyth.
And I'm Glyn Tansley. I'm from just down the road from him in a little village called Eglwysfach, and I'm often known on the blog as Dewi Tree.
Now, I know we might be, fast approaching Tom Cruise sort of status in the Hollywood fame game now that we've moved on to video. But I think we need to sort of stick to our usual thing. So hello to our regulars. Hello to Bedtime Powers.
Hello.
Hello to Von Roderick.
Hello.
To Nick Speed.
Hi Nick.
Hello Nick.
And hello to Rhiannon from Golwg.
Yes.
We often see around and about in the scene.
And good luck with the website as well.
Yes, and good luck to Golwg 360, of course. Of course, also we have to say thank you. Diolch yn fawr iawn i'r Mochyn D for letting us film you today.
Lovely.
Gorgeous
Isn't
section.
it nice?
This is the life, boys.
Catching a tan, talking politics, cheap beer. I mean, it's not bad,
That's all we
really, is
do.
it? A lot to talk about this week.
Yeah.
I think we
Massively.
should probably start with the European election results in Wales. None of us called a Tory win, I don't think. Nobody really said that the Conservatives would top the vote, with 21%, of course. The first time since 1918 that Labour have lost in Wales. What do we think there? What are our impressions of Sunday's earthquake?
I think they've definitely suffered because of the general disillusionment throughout the UK with British politics, and you've got this expensive scandal obviously, and that led to a low turnout, and I think that's why Labour have suffered. They failed to get their grassroots support out, voting for them. Roger Morgan was telling us that on Tuesday when we went to the briefing, that's what cost them. Nick Bourne was saying the task for them now is to secure the support of those people who didn't vote ahead of a general election.
What do you think the Conservatives did more than in other parties? Like Plaid Cymru were really confident going into the election that they could take that second seat and come top in Wales, but yet it didn't seem to happen for Plaid.
I think that the problem Plaid had was that they couldn't get that core support out. They could only get that core support out. They got their traditional Plaid voters out. They all came out to vote, but they couldn't sort of convince more people that Plaid was the way to go. I think more people thought about even smaller parties than Plaid. I think Plaid has become a little bit more establishment, actually.
I think Plaid hoped and believed that they would be able to benefit from the disillusionment with Labour and the Tories in Westminster, because they haven't really been tarnished by the expensive scandal yet. But I think people are still associating Plaid, especially in Wales, with the political scene. So they wanted to completely disassociate themselves with the traditional parties, I think.
Despite that disappointment, they did win in 7 seats and 7 constituencies across Wales, and they, Llanelli and Ysmôn, key target seats for Plaid. So there is some light at the end of the tunnel there.
It's difficult because it's difficult to sort of correlate those two kind of things, because the Tories won a ridiculous number of seats in Wales. They would never win.
Alun and Deeside, of course, a big shock.
Yeah, but they would never win that many seats at a general election. I think that what we're seeing here is more the struggle that Labour have had to get their voters out. During a time of recession, during the time of the European election, I think they've struggled to get them out. I think for a general election, it's going to be a slightly different picture.
With a higher turnout and people out there, the results could be completely different.
Do you think that those, because only 30.4% of people voted in Wales, those people that didn't vote, are they going to go back to Labour, or are they going to look for other parties?
I think they will. I think when it comes to making a choice on who is going to lead this country and who's going to be Prime Minister, they will be back in support of Labour.
In Wales,
because all of Europe has moved sort of to that centre right.
Yeah, in protest though, I think,
right.
against the trend really, against what's happening in throughout Europe. We've got the recession and everything. People are upset.
A couple of the parties that we need to talk about then, the Dems, not a great showing from them. No. Do we think 0.2% bump considering Labour were doing so badly? And
nationally they didn't do great. If you look at that constituency by constituency level, they actually did a lot better. I mean, things like Swansea West and Newport East, Ceredigion was a big swing as well. These are all seats that they will look to gain or to keep at the general election. I mean, that's counted, of course, by the seats in Powys, which they do.
That's
Montgomery and Brecon, but then
they were spinning this on Tuesday in the lobby briefing, in the briefing that we went to, and they were quite, happy with the way things were going. Of course they're going to say that, but I think quietly, especially Kirsty Williams, her seat, Brecon and Radnorshire, Lib Dems haven't won
And they
it.
say they always lose them at European elections. Really, can we really read anything into these results? Because they're a by-election essentially. Really,
It's a referendum, isn't it, on MPs' expenses at the end of the day. This, I think
That's the thing. I mean, the thing about Montgomeryshire and Brecon and Radnor in particular is that along that border, you have along the English border, you have a lot of Conservative voters. That's where the Conservative base is. And the Conservative Party at the moment, there's a lot of energy behind it, there's a lot of enthusiasm, and a lot of people think that they will very possibly be forming the next government at Westminster. They can probably get their voters out a lot easier than, say, Labour or Liberal Democrats.
Now, we haven't got tons of time, but just briefly, UKIP, nobody called it? Why?
No, it was it wasn't even an option on our poll on the blog.
Right.
Because we just put the four main
what do
parties.
we know, eh?
Apparently not a lot.
Do you think they're going to become an electoral force in the Assembly elections
Well,
in Wales?
Roger Morgan has said that he now expects the political landscape to change considerably in Wales and for it to go 6 ways, including the independents, of course. But then Nick Bourne said he doesn't foresee that happening. I think what's ironic, though, is John Bufton, our elected UKIP MEP, was doing his, has just been elected to an institution that he wants to pull out of, and was doing his press conference in front of an institution that he wants to abolish.
Okay, well, before we move on to our second topic, we're going to talk about Gordon Brown today, because, it's been a week of Gordon Brown with his reshuffle and the coup d'etat.
Just another average week for Gordon Brown.
Yeah, night of the blunt knives and things. But so we've got a Gordon Brown quiz for you. We're not forgotten the quiz, even though it's a video podcast. The quiz is still here. So where is Gordon? So I'm looking at the answers. Where was Gordon Brown born? Glasgow, Edinburgh, or Dundee?
Dundee.
You're both wrong. He was born in Glasgow. So there we are. Shows how much you know.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
So-
yes, indeed. Sorry.
Really quite quickly on Gordon Brown. He's managed to last this long. Is he in for the duration now?
Well, this is it. Last week, it was such a big surprise. Because last Thursday, we were talking about reshuffles. We were talking about really poor showing in the elections coming up, the local elections. And everyone was saying it's going to be difficult to see him lasting out another week. And here we are a week later, he's still in the job and actually looking fairly strong. And actually, the parliamentary Labour
He is
Party,
a survivor.
Yeah, what I thought was quite funny was that James Pennell obviously made the first move.
That was last Thursday.
Yeah, as if he sort of climbed over the, as if he's in World War One and he's gone over the top. And he's charging to the enemy and he turns around, where are you? And there's nobody with him.
Yeah.
And he's on his own. And because of that, really, it's not been enough to push
I
him
think
up.
the key as well, though, is that those potential successors for Gordon Brown, your Alan Johnsons and Miliband, they've come out in support
exactly.
of Gordon Brown. I think that's the key. There is no obvious successor now.
And I think also, to be honest, this supposed lack of support, I've seen no actual evidence. Other than these ministers. I know I said this last week.
That was before James Pennell resigned last week.
That was a bit of a foot in the mouth moment for me. But there is very little. You're not seeing a flood of backbench Labour MPs standing on BBC News and on Radio 4 and standing there going, we want the Prime Minister to resign. Actually,
We had Paul Flynn this week actually saying
isn't that just a lack of, there's no candidate, there's no alternative. If there was an alternative, there's a credible alternative, then they would turn to
but
it.
I
surely-
think Alan Johnson
surely-
is a
no.
credible alternative. We've had opinion polls out this week saying that if he was Prime Minister, then the Tory lead in the polls would have.
Surely, out of 300 Labour MPs, one of them would turn around and say, actually, I want him to get, or more than one or two. You just expect half a dozen. It shouldn't be difficult.
There are a few who have come out, but not enough.
Not
enough.
vocally.
And so, can you think, is
I
he
think they
enough
know.
till October?
What they know,
Possibility.
if they call for his resignation now, they have to call a general election because you can't have two unelected prime ministers. And they know that if they call a general election, they will lose it.
Right, well, before finishing, I got to ask a second Gordon Brown question this
Hey.
time. When did he become an MP?
Ooh.
79, 83 or 93?
83.
Oh,
83.
come on.
It is 83.
It is 83.
It is.
Yes.
Okay, tiebreaker then. Quickly, one at a time. How many brothers has he got? 1, 2 or 3?
1.
2.
2, there we go. Today. Well, that's all I suppose from us then for our first ever video podcast. Diolch yn fawr am gwylio. Of course, let us know what you think of the new site. We've given it a bit of a spruce up. Tell us what you think of the colours and the logo and things. And, give us your feedback on our election coverage on Twitter and stuff. So, for this week at least, it's the end of our first video podcast.
It was fun,
What do you
that.
think?
Wasn't it?
Well, I think we can grow into it. We're learning, aren't we?
I'll have another pint now, shall we?
Come, yes, and get the drinks in. Okay, see you next week.
Bye-bye.
That was alright, wasn't it?